Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly values, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. I'm talking away. It's not even on. My apologies. I was just saying, how's everybody doing? Hopefully on a turkey day, you're doing fine. For those of you who celebrate, and for those of you who ate something or went to see family, hope everything went well. Thank you so much, Stephen, for kicking off the contributions. I appreciate you very much. And thank you, Damien. And Miss Kendra, looking nice. How are you this evening? I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. We may or may not be here very long. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Thank you for your patience and holding on with me. Okay. So I want to show y'all a video. We might see 2 videos, but for now, it's going to be the one video. And I'm not going to waste too much time. So here we go.
It's statistically a fact, single mothers, we produce the worst product, right? Part of that, when we talk about males, especially black males, we don't realize that we're programmed, because if you don't understand history, you won't realize that, like, it starts with the female. Even when we were slaves, the idea is if you program the mind of the female slave, she will raise the offspring to continue your agenda without you having to be physically involved. She will teach her children to abide, because we're the first givers of life and care when kids are small. So we train them up to be good slaves, follow these particular rules. We indoctrinate and, create certain philosophies in their mind. So by the time they're big and strong, they still following behind the same agenda that was placed into us. So when you look at males that come from single mother-headed households, if you don't get around positive male role models, you have the emotional management skills of a woman.
Break that down.
She's talking if all of your upbringing, 17, 18 years, you've only seen a woman head the household. You've only seen how a woman problem solves. You only seen how a female, i.e. your mother, handles things. You've only seen how she deals with anger, guilt, shame, different feelings. You're only watching it from her. Now, she ain't telling you act like me, but she telling you act like me because this is programming. This is psychology.
about.
It's statistically a fact. Single mothers, we
Now, shout out to Love Dorsey. Shout out to Love Dorsey. It's the comments. Now, everything that she said was actually correct. Everything that she said was correct. Okay. What she described and what she explained was essentially the breakdown. This is why I keep calling single motherhood a failure. The reason I keep calling single motherhood a failure, specifically as it pertains to the Black so-called community, is because we're the only community that I know of that perpetuate and promote single motherhood almost as the ideal, quote unquote, family structure. We're the only group of women that have done that I've ever witnessed. I've never witnessed another demographic of women that basically say that they would prefer to be single mothers, or that single motherhood is actually preferable to having the child's father involved or in the home or in a family structure or any of that. I don't, even though there are other demographics of women that have a percentage of them that are single mothers, it seems as if we like it this way and we prefer it this way. On the one hand, it's preferable. On the other hand, we get to also simultaneously blame Black men for not being enough, not being masculine enough, not having enough money, not having enough resources, not having enough intelligence, not having enough leadership qualities, not having enough of a clear thinking head, not having enough of anything in order to correct, quote unquote, the Black community. And it's said as if Black women could take the correction in the first place. It's stated as if Black men have the authority in the first place if they, quote unquote, get themselves together, like we're gonna see in these comment sections, that Black women are able to take the correction that they need in order for everybody to get on the same page and in order for everyone to move forward in a positive manner. That's the part they leave out. The part that they leave out is that they aren't going to get right no matter what the men do or whatever the men don't do as a collective. It's just that they're able to use certain statistics and things of that nature to shame and to point fingers at the collective of Black men and say, listen, y'all don't got y'all stuff together, so you can't come over here and tell me nothing because y'all are not nothing. That was the basis of Bang and her whole rhetoric. The basis of her rhetoric was Black men are conquered, and so therefore they are not in position to correct Black women. Even if what they are saying about Black women may be true, they are still not collectively in a position to tell Black women collectively what they need to be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. And that train of thought actually led her down a very destructive path of thought, a very extremist path. What she also explained, what Love Dorsey also explained in this video, was how females work. Whether she wants to or not, women are going to take somebody's agenda. Whether she wants to or not, Women are going to absorb somebody's system, order, and structure, whether that be for ill or good. Okay? When she referenced slavery, for those of you who've read the Willie Lynch and stuff like that, when she referenced slavery, she was referencing women's propensity to accept a destructive system, which was chattel slavery. Despite the system being destructive to her and her offspring, she still inculcated her children the bad programming into her children to enact it, both presently as they were growing up and after she is no longer their caregiver and they become adults and they are out in the world on their own. They will continue to perpetuate that same bad programming, that same bad teaching that she gave them. Okay? She is the buck breaker. That is what Love Dorsey is saying. That the slave master during that time did not need to be present physically at every turn. He really didn't have to do that. That's why slavery worked as well as it did, because they stopped trying to deal with the men. The men were always going to fight. Men are always going to fight. But women, you don't have to fight them. You have to program them. Men, you'll always have to fight. If you don't want to fight men, you have to physically subdue them. If it's not enough, if the numbers aren't enough, you're going to constantly be in a fight with a group of men because they don't want to be subdued. Okay? So people want to have this concept that the men never fought and died and shed blood for not wanting to be subjugated. That they didn't lay their life on the line consistently. That's actually not true. That was consistent. So consistent was it that they had to come up with a system that would quell it at its root, to quell the rebellion at its root. Instead of trying to deal with each individual man or each group of men, why not just train them from when they are babies to not go against what we do? How do you do that? You attack the first teacher of them. Who is that? Their mom? Do their mom. Program their mother. Tell her that it is an act of survival and the survival of her offspring. She can preserve the lives of her offspring and herself if she, and only if, she submits herself to this system. She must submit. She must make her children, particularly her boys, submit to it. And make her the centerpiece of it. Because if he looks at another man and says, you're the one that's oppressing me, the nature of men is that they're going to want to fight. They're going to want to fight. But if he can look at his mother, okay, as the one who is presenting a certain set of rules to him as in an act of love for him, then it's more difficult for him to see her as the ops and the problem. Because it is not natural for a child to look upon their mother in a negative way. That's not a natural reaction. So the system was pretty much set. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about bioculture Iran. I'm not quite going to get into bioculture Iran, but chattel slavery was a bioculture Iran event. Completely switched the value system. That's what gave us the hyena. That was the birth of the boneyard. That was the birth of the boneyard here. That's where the boneyard come from. It was made a matriarchy. It was made a gynocentric system. Because what does it produce? It produces masculine females and effeminate males. Males that don't really have the fire in them to fight. So they reduced the number of men who were willing to risk it all. Okay? The human being can be broken. The spirit of a human being can be broken. You can break people collectively and individually, which is actually what happened. Now, fast forward. It's society that made it okay for single motherhood to exist, especially in the way in which it exists. Society made that okay. Society removed the stigmas that surrounded it, the social shame that surrounded women who were bringing forth children without husbands. That used to be a shameful thing. The social stigma existed. See, once we came out of chattel slavery and reestablished ourselves, even under the oppression of the country, that was another bioculture Iran event that we did for ourselves, because they were no longer we were no longer under the same biological control, not to the same level. So we asserted our own understanding of biology, which affected our culture, which affected our environment to an extent. But the two most important things we had actually gotten a handle. We had gotten a handle on our biology, and we had gotten a handle on our culture. So our family structures actually reflected a return to the proper value system. That's how we was thriving in segregation. And that is how we redeveloped senses of shame and things of that nature culturally and socially. You needed a family. You needed a husband. You got 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. That was unheard of. You got all them kids and you weren't married to none of the. First of all, the children have more than one father. Because these women was married with 10, 12, 11 kids, same man. They had the number of kids, but it was typically, more often than not, it was within the confines of a marriage. If she had children by another man, she at one point was married to that man that she had them kids by. So it was not a common thing for the women to just be running around with a whole bunch of kids, no fathers, don't know who the fathers are, or they do know who the fathers are, and it's a bunch of different ones, and they was never married to none of them. That actually was not very common, because again, there was a social stigma for that. So you running around with just a bunch of men, baby? The women did not uphold that foolishness. The women didn't uphold that kind of foolishness. The women was like, no, see, you want them women of ill repute. You want them night women. That was their way of calling you a hoe. You hoeing. You a women of the street. You fast. Hot tail. That was the older women's way of saying we don't associate with you. See, that used to be a thing too. Birds of a feather flocked together. And if you was tight friends with the neighborhood whore, you was a whore. And women kept you away from their husbands. You wasn't invited to family things. There was a sort of social ostracism for you. So whores hung around whores. And wives hung around wives. And you couldn't call yourself a wife with a hoe for a best friend. And they didn't allow all them hoes, if you was a known whore all around in their house with their husbands and stuff, then you can't come over here because you will have sex with my man. And we know that. Why am I talking about all of this? Because we evolved into single motherhood, especially with having children with various different men. You've never been married to them. There's never been a committed relationship. You just pop babies out. That's new. In the grand scheme of us, that's new. And it's extremely destructive, extremely, to the point where we don't really have family structures no more. That's why everybody's saying the Black community is doomed, because you can't have a community without proper family structures. It's not possible. Okay? So the single mother of today, let's fast forward. She's going to carry the agenda of society because there is no direct man that she's listening to. She's not getting system, order, and structure from her husband, from the child's father, things of that. That's not what she's getting. She's getting whatever it is that society tell her is okay and not okay. And we know that today's society is topsy-turvy. Left is right, right is left, up is down, okay, and right is wrong. All right, men are women, women are men, all kinds of foolishness, all kinds of foolishness. So she is actually taking this mindset and giving it to her kids. What I'm going to do is I am going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to come back and get to the super chats, and we're going to watch another video because I'm going to show you something that's disturbing, but we got to see it. So after these messages, we'll be right back.
Hello, my Crimsonites and all of my supporters. I invite you to go and get your copy of my new book, Reclaiming the Black Feminine, The Lies of Feminism and the Road to Recovery, on sale now at crimsoncure.com. This is guaranteed to change your perspective and positively impact your life. So go ahead now to crimsoncure.com and get your copy today.
All right, so you definitely want to go to crimsoncure.com, pick up your copy of Reclaiming the Black Feminine, Lies of Feminism and the Road to Recovery, which is on sale now. Let me get to the super chats. Thank you, Supreme 10 said 80% of all single African-American mothers get pregnant by the same 16 of men. That number always drops. First, it was the same 25%, now 16% of the same men, but she wants to blame single Black men with no children. Social media is the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you, Common Man. Said unwed motherhood with backing from the government is what Black woman is saying. She can only teach her daughters to get on government systems while they dismiss their sons at age 18. Thank you once again, Common Man. Said the term is unwed motherhood. They changed the term to single mother in the late 70s, early 80s because feminists didn't like the term unwed mother. And thank you, Quantum Solace, for your contribution as well. I don't know how many likes I need, but I know I owe y'all a bam, 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 bam. You gotta hit the like button, bam, bam. You gotta So before we go to the next video, let's point out some of these comments. Everybody got smoke for the Black woman, but where the F is these fathers? Maybe instead of saying single mothers produce the worst product, the focus should have been absent fathers produce the worst product. Blaming the parent that's present is the weirdest thing to do, and I'll never understand it. Okay. Single mothers needs to be changed to absent fathers. It sucks the mother who stays get blamed for so much. Crazy thing is, y'all keep pushing this narrative of single mothers raise terrible men. And that's just not true. There are also men that had a father in their lives that are just as bad. And there are some great men that were raised by single mothers. Also, does a single father produce a better product than a single mother, or is that different? Actually do. Is it that single mothers produce the worst, or that missing fathers do? But why are women single mothers? Here's the deal. Before I go into this next video that is going to be difficult to listen to, not only because of the amount of profanity, but the subject matter. Y'all want these fathers gone. Let's stop the cap. Let's stop the cap, because I do not like it. Because the way in which these females characterize it is that there was a family structure to begin with, that there was a marriage to begin with, and that they got pregnant, had children, and the father suddenly became derelict in his duties as a husband and father. And he just left the family. And then she had to struggle on her own to make things right and to make ends meet and things of that nature. When I did a show maybe a year or two ago, might have been 2 now, where we looked at an old documentary where we could see in the 80s, 70s and 80s, how the mindset changed. And the young women had children. They were single mothers. And when the guy asked, do you even want the father of your children? Do you even want him? Do you think that you should be married and then have children and have the father around? In other words, he was asking them, do they want families, intact families? And they said, no, we don't need them. Why not? Why don't we need them? Because I can get on government assistance, and I can get on welfare, and I can get on Section 8, and I can get this, and I can get that. So therefore, I can make sure that me and my child or children at least can survive. And so therefore, I don't have any particular need for their fathers, and I certainly don't have any particular need for the relationship with their fathers, marriages, and so on. Okay. So I want to make that very clear, that y'all are single mothers because you want to be. You strive to do this. You want to do this. You do not want the men in the children's lives. You have no desire for them to be present and do anything for their children. You specifically and purposely use children as pawns. You use them as sacrifices and play pieces and weapons to get back at the men that you are bitter and scorned by. You use them as weapons to hurt the men, because the only men that can be hurt are the men that care. The men that don't care, there's no reason to go to child support for him. You can't weaponize his love for his children to them because they don't want them and they aren't around. So when y'all go to child support court, when y'all call the police on the men and set up orders of protection and all that type of stuff, just like we are currently watching Keke Palmer do that to her baby's father. We watched her purposely have a child without the commitment and the marriage. And now that she doesn't want him around, she got her little light-skinned baby with the cute hair. And so now she has no need for this man, his genes, his DNA, and nothing else. She has no need for this man. Never mind the fact that her son needs his father and that she chose this man to be her son's father. She chose the father. She allowed pregnancy. She carried the baby to term. She went to the hospital and had it. She did all that kind of stuff. She didn't require birth control or condoms or nothing like that. She wasn't looking to not be pregnant. She was looking to have a baby. She chose the caliber of man to have that baby with. Okay? Now that it's done, what is she now doing? She's alienating that man. When every picture we see with them with that baby, he got that baby in his hand. He hugging that baby, holding that baby. Okay? So now we're watching it in real time. Her go through the system to get an order of protection restraining order. She got to tell everybody he's abusive. She got to tell everybody he beating on her, blah, 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 blah. This will prompt the courts to issue her orders of protection and so forth and on. Once there's an order of protection, but for her and the child, he's no longer able to see this child. He's no longer able to come in contact with her or this kid. Okay? So that before the child can speak, before the child can walk, before the child knows anything about anything that's going on, she has already planted the very destructive seeds that they will not have a relationship, that child and that father will not have a relationship. And that child will come under her and her mother's control. If the child does not turn out right, it will be Darius's fault. If the child turns out to be quote unquote successful, she will take all the credit. And she will discredit Darius because he wasn't around to make sure that the child grew up properly and so forth. So now I want to show y'all another video. Mind you, the language and mind you, the subject matter, because this is what we're going to listen to is a mother that's going to admit her abuses to her children as they were growing up. Here's what I want to say. Not only do the women inculcate bad programming with her children, she, as a result of her bad decisions, not being in relationships, having enmity towards men, contempt for the men that she's been with and things of that nature, she often will do one of a couple things. She will either, as she's raising those children, she will be dismissive of them, distracted away from them, or she will be abusive to them in some way or neglectful to them. This will be done without any check or balance. She will raise them either out of anger, contempt, or detachment. Now listen to me. Listen to her bear out what I just said.
Them kids. But nah, for real, fuck them kids. No, I had my first son at 17. Ain't no way I could do everything right. Nobody taught me how to be a parent. So when I first had my kids, I thought beating them was the answer. I was going to force them to respect me. I was going to force them to listen. Force was going to come. I was putting my hands on them. I was ready. I was coming with. I was putting my hands on. I got 4 sons. I was putting my hands on these folks, squaring up with these folks, ready to fight. It wasn't until I beat my daughter so bad, I couldn't send her to school. It's easy for them to fix their face, fix their mouth, and try and tell you what you didn't do for them when they was little, or what they didn't get, or what they did without, or how terrible their childhood was. Whole time not even understanding what you sacrificed, you gave up, you did without, how you had to humble yourself, accept less than what you wanted, all because you had them. They will try and drag you over the coals for the remainder of your life like you owe them something. At the end of the day, if I done got you to 18 years old, you done finished high school, I have done everything I need to do for you. Anything over than that is me being nice. Because when I sit back and I think about it, I think about the hours of labor I was in. I think about the months I carried you in my body and was uncomfortable. I think about the time I almost lost my life having you. I think about all the times I had to feed you and I couldn't eat. I think about the times I had to buy school clothes and had the same shoes for years. That's what I think about. I think about staying on a job I hated, but I didn't have a choice because I had kids to take care, I had bills to pay. I think about the Christmases when I gave plenty of gifts and never received one. I think about the Mother's Days that I never got anything. I think about the birthdays when I don't even get a call or a card, a 50-cent card from Dollar Tree. I've had a lot to say, fuck them kids.
Okay. I told you just before I showed that video that they will raise those children in anger, and they will raise them in resentment, and they will raise them out of contempt, and they will raise them with detachment. They will raise them with hatred. They will despise those children that they laid up and let some man ski, got pregnant, carried the baby to term, had him, and then now hate the child for the inconvenience of their existence. Treat the child any kind of way and then expect love, pampering, affection, adoration, and overall good treatment from the people that they spent a lifetime torturing. She talked about only her. Only her. Only how she was inconvenienced. They talk about how bad their childhood was. If you beat me black and blue, and it was physical abuse, so you know that it was emotional abuse. You know that it was verbal abuse along with that. You know that there was psychological abuse along with that. Why was she able to do that? Because she purposely chose single motherhood 4 times. We don't know how many fathers, but on 4 separate occasions, she decided that even though she hated the children she was bringing into the world, she was going to do it 4 times. She did it 1 time and it's out. Forget it, I'm going to do it 3 more. And each one, I'm going to take out all my frustrations. I'm going to take out the frustration of struggling and poverty on them. I'm going to beat them. I'm going to cuss them. And when they get old enough to tell me about myself and about the damage that I actually perpetrated on them, I'm going to gaslight them and start talking about the physical act of carrying and birthing them as if they asked for that. And then she comes with the famous, if I got you to 18 years old, I did what I was supposed to do. And anything over that was me being nice. So loving your children, caring for your children, providing the best possible outcome with their father, trying to do your best to make sure that the environment was conducive to children and their upbringing. That was you being nice. Because your children are not owed kindness and affection from you. This answers the question that the other woman asked in the other comment section. Why does the parent that stayed get blamed? Because the parent that stayed do this. The parent that stays do this. Why is it such abuse? See, we can't see, it's only 660 something people in here. Because every time we get to talking about the devilment and the foolishment of these mothers, don't nobody want to talk about that. Because motherhood in the Black community is still sanctified somehow. No matter how much they defile the station. It's untouchable. The reason she was able to perpetrate such abuses is because the men are not there. Why aren't the men there? Because she chased them away. She chased them away. If you doing that to children and people that you birthed into this world, that you had 9 months to connect with each one of them before they even saw the light of day, and when they were born, you could look at what you had and put your hands on it, then what hope did a man have of you being kind and nice and workable and amicable? None. So when the men are not there, and this is why we're going to get down to why they run the men off. They run the men off so that they can do stuff like this to children without being checked. Because the other women in their life, even if the other women, their moms and stuff like that, know that they are severely abusing the children, they do not hold the women accountable for doing so. They don't hold them accountable. They might feel a little bit pity for the child, but not enough to hold the mother accountable. Every excuse is made, mental illness and her mental health and her emotional set and blah, 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 blah. See, the reason they don't want the men around, they alienate the fathers, is so that they can take out all their frustrations and all of that kind of stuff on the children that they don't love, because he would put a stop to it. He would not allow you to just beat on the kids and abuse them and talk to them any old kind of old way, and you just do anything to his kids. He's not going to allow that. If he knows, see, he'll hold you accountable down to the wire. If he knows that you are abusing his kids, that's a problem. That's a problem. Whether he in live with you or don't, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. He going to be like, nah, I got to do something. Because I can't just stand around and know that you beats mercilessly, unjustly my children. These are not punishments and spankings. These are, she said, square up. So they fighting, they thumping in that house. And you know, a boy, after he get a certain age, he can take his mama. So she had to square up. If she was gonna do all that, if she was gonna still be trying to put her hands on him after a certain point, she would have to square up, because he gonna square up. All they got to get is round about 12, 13, 14 years old. Don't let him get no size on him. Don't let him get no height. You gonna hit him one too many times and he gonna square up. Come on. You talking like that to your mama? Yep. We're gonna have to roll. We're gonna have to move this furniture around up in here, because you're not gonna hit me no more. You're not gonna hit me no more. You not. First of all, the hits don't hurt. They don't hurt no more. And I'm not scared of you. So we gonna have to thump. And that's when she want to put him out. And that's when she want to pull weapons and stuff like that and all that kind of stuff. That's when they do that kind of stuff. So the fathers are not there by the choices of the mother. She chooses single motherhood because the first thing that she chooses is that there are no commitments prior to bearing children. Somehow being in a committed relationship is more difficult for her than having a child, mainly because if she's in the relationship with a man with any type of masculinity, she's not going to be able to control him or the relationship. So that turns her off from trying to have one. The kids she can control, but the only way that she can have maximum control is if the father is not there and not present, or he's kept far enough away that he can't influence the children, and he's not able to know what happens inside of the home. And then she scare the kids up. They bet not tell their daddy and blah, 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 blah. Then they push fathers away. They create conflict with the father at every turn to discourage him. They make it a fight for him to be in his children's lives, no matter how determined he is. They make it a fight for him to father the children. They make it a fight for him to perform his duties. We watching it in real time publicly. We watching Samantha Lee make it a fight for Tyrese to simply be a father to his child. She's making that a fight. She's making that a legal fight. She's making that a struggle. She's using the legal system to make sure that he is deterred and discouraged from being a proper father, as proper as he can be without living with her and living with the child. Okay. So this is what's going on. We watch it play out, and we don't even have to look at celebrities. How many men in this comment section, in this chat, have gone through the rigmarole with their baby mama? She took you to court. She did this and that, made it a problem, made it a fight. You had to go through this, and you had to jump through this hoop, and you had to jump through that hoop. We just watched another, they always got to try to call it a skit. An old girl, he shows up. He hadn't seen his child in 6 years. He shows up to a birthday party. She immediately calls the police talking about she got a restraining order. How long you think restraining orders last? He ain't seen you in 6 years. So if he hasn't seen you in 6 years, how do you have an active restraining order? Based on what? And all of this is done in order to maintain single mother status. Why do they want to maintain single mother status? Because that is a status of victimhood. It is a status of victimhood. Somebody's supposed to feel sorry because she chose to birth out several children without no fathers and without no marriages and without no help. She chose to do that. We've normalized that. That is now normal. And then what's crazy to me is to turn around and blame the men for that. The men gotta be blamed because you decided that you wanted to have ultimate control over your kids and this and that, and you didn't want him around. So you made every possible way for him to not be around. Let me get to these super chats. Thank you, Damien. Said, can I get my fix, Miss Kendra, the hyena sound effect? I definitely will play it for you. Thank you, Lord Sinister. How can you blame someone who's absent? If you're the present parent, the child is a reflection of you. Thank you, Daddy. Said, I am currently being alienated by my daughter's mother to the point where my daughter doesn't call or answer my phone calls. Thank you, Southside. So we heard about deadbeat fathers in error for decades. Now the truth is coming out about single mom terrorists. I'm too glad I won full custody. Thank you once again. Said my BF and his mama used to swing on him regularly. Thank you so much, Dale, for your contribution. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Lord Sinister. Said, I wasn't a part of the baby mama drama, but I saw it. Full disclosure really scares me to have children. Thank you, Queen. Said, Eskimo approves this message. I find it sickening when single mothers take 100% credit for a son being drafted to a professional team, even though men coach, trained, and drafted him. And not to mention, it was his own natural talent. They be taking credit for your natural talent. Here you go, Damien. And I would say this as well. Maria said, but the women are picking men with poor character and get mad when they don't step up to the plate. That may be true in some cases, but in some cases, they're picking men who are perfectly willing to be fathers. Like I said, the only men you can fight with in court and alienate them and they keep coming back and you keep having to go to court are the men who actually are trying to step up to the plate. Those are the only men you can fight with. The true deadbeat, you can't even find him. You can't even find him to serve him no papers. To serve him no court child support papers and no court papers. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times they're picking men that even if they weren't necessarily prepared for the family and blah, 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 they're saying, okay, well, now that a baby is here or now that it's on the way, let me go ahead and do what I can do as a father. Let me do the best that I can do. And that's when they get to fight. And that's when they really fight. They fight those men the most, actually. They actually fight those men the most. Those are the men that get the worst of it. The ones that actually are trying to step up. The ones that actually are like saying, okay, let me be a dad, though. Even if me and you are not together, I was never planning on you, you know what I'm saying, to be with you forever. However, the child don't have nothing to do with that. So let me try to be a father. And that's when they really get to scrapping and fighting and acting a fool with him. They act a fool with him. the father that want to get them and take them to get their hair cut and take them out and teach them something and take them to, you know what I'm saying, karate classes and teach them about man stuff and, you know, talk to them and spend more nights. These are the men that's going to fight for more than just a weekend or 24 hours. They want more than every other, you know what I'm saying, every other weekend and all that kind of stuff. They want to see their kids more than 2 times a month, and they want to see them over the summer. These are the men that want to just give them to me, you know what I'm saying, just give me joint custody, we'll share, I'm not gonna alienate them men, and they'll fight them men. Fight him tooth and nail and call him a deadbeat. Do everything in their power to make it so unpalatable and so unsustainable for him that there are groups of men who try, and then they say, you know what, I'm just gonna wait till my kids are grown, and they flip a coin on it. It's a gamble because they may be able to come back and have a relationship with their children, or maybe not. Maybe sometimes it's lost, and men have to swallow that and walk away. You know. Let me get to the last of these super chats because we're going to have to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Common Man. So I'm 62. I went through it in 1981. I even had to go to jail one time, but she still wouldn't stop me from being part of my child's life. I told them as a young man they'd have to kill me first, and they'd certainly try to. If they don't do it physically, they try to kill your spirit. Thank you. The Real Book say, yeah, because their master plan still didn't work. Thank you so much for the contribution. Let me read off and see if we have any cash apps. Let's see. We got JP, we got AB, we got BP, we got JB, we got MLR, and we got PD. All right. I'm trying not to say y'all government names, and I don't want to do that to y'all. But thank you so much for contributions over Cash App as well. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your hostess, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.